scores and to say, I will never forgive that person. But somehow that has never been who I wanted to be. I have always believed that forgiveness is a virtue. But let me make something clear. Forgiving someone does not mean that I have forgotten what they did to me. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a virtue, and I believe I have it in abundance. There is something about myself that I have come to appreciate as I've gotten much older. I believe I have forgiveness in abundance. And I don't say that because I think I am better than anyone else. I say it because life has given me many opportunities to hold grudges, to become bitter, to keep scores, and to say, I will never forgive that person. But somehow, that has never been who I wanted to be. I have always believed that forgiveness is a virtue. But let me make something clear. Forgiving someone does not mean that I have forgotten what they did to me. There are things people have done to me that I remember clearly. There are disappointments I have erased from my I have not erased from my memory. There are people who hurt me, people who misunderstood me, people who perhaps didn't treat me as well as I thought they should have. Carrying anger is exhausting. Carrying resentment is exhausting. And sometimes the people who you are angry with has gone on with their lives while you are still carrying what they did to you. So who is really being punished? Sometimes forgiveness is about setting yourself free. I've reached an age where I don't want to spend my precious time being angry about yesterday. I have today, and I want to enjoy today. I want to wake up in the morning and feel good about my life. I want to work in my garden. I want to decorate my house. I want to talk to people. I want to laugh. I want to think. I want to create. I don't want somebody else's action from 10, 20, 30, or 40 years occupy valuable space in my mind. And that's something I think younger people sometimes do not understand. When you're young, you may feel holding onto anger, something good. You think, I'll never forgive that person. And sometimes you believe that refusing forgive means you have won. But as you get older, you begin to understand that life is too short to keep fighting battles that are already over. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. That's another distinction I think is very important. I can forgive you, still decide that you don't belong in my life. I can forgive you and still establish boundaries. I can forgive you and still say, I don't trust you anymore. I can forgive you without giving you another opportunity to hurt me, because forgiveness and trust are two different things. Trust has to be earned. Forgiveness can be given. And perhaps one of the reasons I have been able to forgive so much is because I understand that human beings are complicated. We make mistakes. We say things we shouldn't say. We hurt people sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally. We misunderstood each other. We hurt people sometimes. We make decisions when we are young that we later regret. And I've made mistakes too. I wouldn't want to be judged for the worst thing I ever did in my life. That doesn't mean we excuse bad behavior. It means we recognize that people are more complicated than their mistakes. And perhaps that's one of the greatest lessons age has given me. When you're young, everything can feel black and white. Good people, bad people, right, wrong. But life teaches you that there are many shades of gray. You meet somebody, you discover that the person you thought was terrible was struggling with something you knew nothing about. You discover that somebody who hurt you was carrying their own pain. You discover that sometimes people don't recognize or realize how deeply they have hurt you. And sometimes you realize that you were carrying anger towards somebody who doesn't even remember what happened. Imagine that. You are carrying a suitcase full of resentment, and the person you are angry with isn't even carrying the same suitcase. So eventually, you have to ask yourself, why am I still carrying this? That question has become important to me because at 73, I don't want to carry unnecessary emotional baggage. I have lived long enough to know that life will give you enough things to deal with. Why add bitterness to the list? There is another thing about forgiveness that I believe people misunderstand. Forgiveness doesn't always happen in one dramatic moment. Sometimes forgiveness is a process. You may say, I forgive you, and then 6 months later realize you're still angry. That's okay. Sometimes you have to forgive the person more than once. You have to forgive them in your heart. Then you have to forgive yourself for allowing the situation to hurt you. And sometimes you even have to forgive yourself for things you wish you had done differently, because self-forgiveness is just as important. How many of us walk around punishing ourselves for mistakes we have made 20 or 30 years ago? We say, I shouldn't have done this. I should have known better. I should have left. I should have spoken up. I should have made a different decision. But you didn't. You made the best decision you could with the knowledge and circumstances you have at that time. And perhaps you need to forgive that younger version of yourself. I think that's something that comes with age. You begin to look back at the young person you were with more compassion. You realize she didn't know everything you know now. She hadn't lived long enough. She hadn't experienced enough. She was learning. And perhaps you should give yourself the same grace you give other people. So yes, I believe forgiveness is a virtue, and I believe I have it in abundance. But I don't confuse forgiveness with weakness. I don't confuse forgiveness with allowing people to mistreat me. And I don't confuse forgiveness with forgetting. For me, forgiveness means I remember what happened, but I refuse to allow it to control the rest of my life. That's a powerful place to be, because when you can remember without becoming confused by anger, you have taken your power back. When you can wish someone well without wanting them back in your life, you have taken your power back. When you can look at your past and say, yes, that hurt, but it didn't destroy me, you have taken your power back. And perhaps that is what forgiveness really gives us. Freedom. Freedom from the argument. Freedom from the resentment. Freedom from constantly repaying the past. Freedom from moving forward. I don't know how many years I have left. None of us knows. But I know this. I don't want to waste whatever years I have left being angry about what somebody did to me years ago. I would rather spend time living, loving, laughing, creating, gardening, talking, thinking, and appreciating the life I still have. So if you ask me what virtue I believe I have in abundance, I would say forgiveness. Not because people have always deserved it, but because I deserve the peace that comes with giving it. And perhaps that's the part of forgiveness we don't talk about enough. Sometimes we don't forgive because the other person deserves forgiveness. Sometimes we forgive because we deserve peace. And at this stage of my life, peace is something I value highly. So I will forgive. I will remember. I will learn. I will set boundaries. And then I will keep moving. Because life is happening right now. And I don't want to miss it while I'm looking backward. This is Petra, and this is another conversation about life, aging, wisdom, and the things we learn along the way.